are not given the graph. Instead, we are given 2 points that we want to find the slope of the line which contains those 2 points. What we do is we could draw a graph, but that might be a little unwieldy at times. So instead we say this is my first point of the form x, y, but since it's the first point we call it x sub 1, y sub 1. And the second point will be x sub 2, y sub 2. And then we would use the slope formula we gave you a moment ago, m equals y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1, and we would subtract the y's first. Y sub 2 minus y sub 1, that's 1 minus 3, and then x sub 2 minus x sub 1 is 4 minus a negative 2. And that will give us negative 2 over 6, which reduces to negative 1/3. Now, do we have to subtract going from right to left? No, it was arbitrary which point was the first point, which was the second point, but for purposes you'll learn later with coordinate geometry, we'd like to use y sub 2 first. Okay, let's do this again. We have 2 points, x sub 1, y sub 1, x sub 2, y sub 2. And I'm going to rewrite the slope formula, because every time you rewrite this formula on your own, it's going to help you to reinforce and memorize it. So the second y minus the first y will be negative 3 minus 5. And then subtracting and finding the difference of the x's, we're going to have the second x, which is 11, minus the first x, which is 4. And this is going to give us a slope of negative 8/7. Okay, next one. Find the slope of this line. Well, we've told you it goes through negative 3, negative 1, and 2, 1 to help you identify those points a little bit more closely, since we don't have a graph paper scale behind this. And so we want to look at what is the rise compared with the run. And we always start at the leftmost point. It appears we've gone up 2 and over 5. So rise 2, run 5. If you wanted to use the slope formula, m equals the difference of the y's divided by the difference of the x's, you would have second y 1 minus first y negative 1 over second x 2 minus the first one, which is negative 3, and that gives you again 2 over 5. So it's consistent whichever method you want to go with. Okay, a couple key sentences coming here. Parallel lines have the same slope, and the slopes of perpendicular lines are negative or opposite reciprocals of each other. Now, what do I mean by negative reciprocals? Well, here we go. Negative reciprocals. Let me write that out really quickly. If you have the fraction 4 over 7, its negative reciprocal would be negative 7/4. Flipping the fraction over and multiplying by negative 1. If you have the whole number negative 2, its negative reciprocal would be positive 1/2, because that negative 2 is actually over 1. Now I want you to notice something here. In both of these cases, the product of the fractions is negative 1. When you multiply the first two fractions together, the 4's cancel, the 7's cancel, and you have positive times negative, which gives you negative 1. And that is the case in the second pair of fractions also. In fact, another definition of the slopes of perpendicular lines, rather than saying negative reciprocals, is saying that two lines are perpendicular if and only if their slopes, products, are negative 1. So I just wanted to tuck that into your memory for somewhere down the road.